I'm Janice Dibble from the Oshkosh Public Library, and our very special guest today is Ron LaPointe, noted local author. And we're happy to have you here, Ron, to talk about your newest book.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, I just want to explain for people, because we have a lot of people asking and wanting to know the books, that you did have a predecessor book, and that's Oshkosh, a Southsider Remembers. It's the brown cover. And then we have the new book, Oshkosh, the Way We Were, the blue cover. And I just wanted to tell you how we found out about the book. I was working the reference desk one day, and a man came up and he said, "Do you have Ron's new book?" And I said, "Well, we have the Southsider book." He goes, No, there's a new book." And I said, "Gee, I don't know about it." So he said, "Well, all the guys are talking about it, and they said it's really great, even better than the first one."
It's always good to talk to you, Janice.
So I think it's great that people found out about the book, came to the library, and then my first thought was, well, we better buy the book, and then we better get Ron in here to do a program. So you are going to be coming July 27th to the library at 6:30 p.m., and we'll have a program where you'll be talking about your book.
Right.
And will you be reading some of the sections, or
Sure.
will you be reading any of the
Well,
chapters?
I certainly could. Last time I was here with the first book, Southsider Remembers, I answered questions and read part of the book that I thought you might be of interest, and it seemed to go okay.
It sure did. It was a great program. And Ron will also be selling his book, so that if people want it for themselves or as gifts, I think it'd be a nice gift for Christmas.
Would you want me to tell the people where I'm selling the books? They're at the two bookstores in Oshkosh, Apple Blossom and Paper Tiger. They're at the Public Museum, they're at the Senior Center. I sell them out of my home, and Camera Casino has a number of books, and basically that's it.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a lot of places that people can go to. So, well, I wanted to just mention a couple of the stories that I really enjoyed. There's many that are good, but just to share with the audience today. One is on Oregon Street Merchants, and I thought it was really, it's just one page, but it talks about different stores on Oregon Street. And one is a meat market, and the person that wrote it talked about how this older gentleman used to come to the meat market and buy a pound of meat, and then he'd have his dog with him, and his dog would carry the meat home in his mouth, which I thought was really cute. You don't see that too much these days. And then he talked about how as a kid he would go to another store where they did shoe repair, and the owner was an amateur boxer, and he used to give all the kids free boxing lessons when they came in. So I think that gives a flavor that some of the stories tell you a lot about what Oshkosh was like, but also personal memories. And I imagine that was part of the reason you decided to write the book, was to share all these memories.
Well, they're not all my memories, and I never thought I'd be writing a second book. But the first book sold real well, much to my surprise, actually. I was hoping to sell a few hundred books and, get my money back from what I paid to the publisher, but I sold many more than that, and people, it was well received apparently, or evidently. And there were some that asked me when I was going to write another book, and I didn't think I had another book in me, but then shortly after, someone approached me and said, "Why don't you write a book of collected works?" Asked members of the community to share their remembrances of the past, and put that in a book, and along with any other stories that you may have. So I thought about it a while, and I dismissed it at first, thought about it a while, and thought, well, maybe that'll work. So eventually I wrote letters to a number of people that I thought might have good stories that were either known in the community, some who really weren't, and they trickle in real slow at first, but after a while they came in fast and furious, and I ended up not including all the stories that were submitted to me, but I included 101 in the book. A number of the stories from other people were based on an interview I had with them, people like Dave Garcia, the former manager of the Oshkosh Giants, member of the Giants in 48 and 49, our own Lenny Heinbigner, who I interviewed at his home, and another player for the Giants back in '53. I interviewed him over the telephone, and he lives in northern Wisconsin. There were a few others too, but in the main, people submitted their own stories, and usually with little editing by me, and that's what's in the book.
Well, I thought the Dave Garcia story was really great with your interview with him. He came across as somebody that really knows so much about baseball and just a warm, wonderful person. It was just, you could just feel that was somebody that really was a great person.
He's 90 years old. He has a hard time seeing. He still scouts for the San Diego Padres. I'm sorry, the Chicago Cubs. He lives in San Diego. And I was set up with the interview by another Oshkosh Giant who played for him. And he was so kind. And I timed the interview. It took an hour and 10 minutes on the head. I might have talked for 3 or 4 of those minutes. And so I had a writing notes in a flourish and hoping that I remembered most everything that he said. That was a nice story. Maybe my favorite is the one on Donnie White's, whom we call the mayor of South Park. I think most people in Oshkosh knew Donnie. He died a few years ago. When he was born, the doctors told Donnie's parents that he may not live very long, but then again, he may live a long life, and he would never have the mental ability more than a 4-year-old. But the things that Donnie did with other people, and his caring for children, and his continuing being at South Park, and helping the employed workers there, and leading the Ohio Street Children's Parade every year, is something that got to the hearts of many Southsiders. And I didn't know Donnie that well, so I called his sister, and she said, why don't you write a letter to the editor, and if half the people who spoke at Donnie's funeral will respond to your letter, he says you'll have a good story, and that's what happened.
Well, I think that's what's so terrific about the book is that it tells a lot about Oshkosh history, both for people that just want to have the nostalgia and want to review that, and people that don't know the stories, but also the people come across so wonderful, that there were a lot of wonderful people in Oshkosh in the 1940s and 50s, and it's great to hear about how they helped make Oshkosh the great city that it is.
Yes. And before I wrote either one of these books, I checked the library closely to see if anything like this had been written. Didn't see anything, so I eventually got the idea of maybe publishing those stories in that first book, The Southsider Remembers. And I was reluctant at first because I don't want to make a fool out of myself in front of other people, reading something that may not have been good enough to read. So, but it was well received, and I was happy about it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, do you have any thoughts about writing a third book?
Well, actually, yes. I'm currently compiling stories similar to the Blue Book, Oshkosh the Way We Were, Remembering People and Places. And I have 4 stories going. 2 from people who submitted stories for this last book, but they came in too late. 1 local resident everyone knows, and another one from Georgia who lived here when he was younger, who has a fantastic story. And then I'm doing one on the Magnet, the pool hall, and I'm doing the interviews now. And then I'm doing another one that I hope pans out, but I haven't done the interview yet, so whether or not the story will actually come to fruition, I really don't know. But I think it would be a good story. It took place in the 40s and the 50s and the 30s, so there are some people that remember the organization and the people involved, and those that don't, it's part of Oshkosh history.
Well, that's great. And well, we look forward to having you come then on Tuesday, July 27th at 6:30 p.m. And I have a few more stories, Mark, that I really love, so I'm going to suggest on that Tuesday, July 27th, that you read my favorites,
Okay.
even if anyone else has other favorites. And,
I will do that.
Call us at the library if you have any questions about the program. And we also have it on our website, www.oshkoshpubliclibrary.org. And thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you, Janice, for inviting me. And Lisa.